Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here. Today, we'll be exploring forest and wildlife resources. This will cover the importance of forests and wildlife, their current status, and ways we can help conserve these vital resources. So, let's dive in and discover more about the incredible natural treasures around us. Now, let's move on to Slide 8, which focuses on the new trends in conservation policy. First, we'll look at the social effects of resource depletion. When natural resources are overused or exhausted, it doesn't just impact the environment, it also affects communities that depend on these resources for their livelihoods. This can lead to social unrest, economic instability, and even displacement of local populations. Next, we'll examine how governments are categorizing forests. Many countries, including ours, are now classifying forests based on their ecological importance, conservation status, or usage rights. This helps in creating targeted policies that better protect vulnerable areas and manage resources efficiently. Then, we'll discuss the causes of depletion of flora and fauna. These include factors like illegal hunting, deforestation, pollution, and climate change. Understanding these causes is essential for developing effective strategies to combat them. Moving forward, community involvement plays a crucial role in conservation efforts. When local communities participate actively, they become stewards of the environment, ensuring sustainable practices and fostering a sense of ownership. In addition, we'll review the conservation of forests and wildlife in India. Our country has made significant efforts through national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and conservation programs to protect our rich biodiversity. Finally, we'll look at the different categories of existing plant and animal species based on the IUCN Red List. This classification helps us understand which species are endangered, vulnerable, or critically endangered, guiding our conservation priorities. All these points connect back to the overall theme of sustainable conservation, emphasizing that innovative policies and community engagement are vital for protecting our natural heritage for future generations. Forests play a crucial role in our ecological system because they are the primary producers. That means they generate the energy and resources that all other living beings depend on. Without forests, the balance of nature would be severely disrupted. Now, the Earth is incredibly rich in biodiversity. We share this planet with countless other species, and together, we form a complex web of life. Every organism, no matter how small, has a part to play in this system. It's important to recognize that we are just one part of this intricate web. Our survival depends on the health of the entire system, which includes forests, animals, plants, and countless microorganisms. Understanding the importance of biodiversity helps us see why protecting these natural resources is so vital for our own well-being and the health of the planet as a whole. Let's take a closer look at India's rich floral and faunal diversity. There are approximately 15,000 flowering plant species, which showcase the incredible variety of plant life in the country. However, it's important to note that about 10% of our flora, and even more concerning, 20% of mammals, are on the threatened list, highlighting the urgency of conservation efforts. When we talk about flora, India is home to around 74,000 plant species, emphasizing its botanical richness. Our forests cover about 78.29 million hectares, which accounts for roughly 23.81% of the total land area, an essential habitat for many species. In terms of fauna, India hosts around 2,000 bird species and about 90,000 other fauna species, reflecting the incredible biodiversity across different animal groups. Overall, India is one of the most biologically diverse countries in the world, holding nearly 8% of all known species globally. This biodiversity is a vital part of our natural heritage and underscores the importance of protecting these ecosystems for future generations. Let's look at some species that are no longer found after searches in areas where they were likely to occur. These species may be extinct in specific local areas, regions, countries, continents, or even worldwide. For example, the Asiatic cheetah and the pink-headed duck are considered extinct species. Moving on, we have species with small populations. If the negative factors affecting them continue, these species might move into the endangered or vulnerable categories. Some examples include the Himalayan brown bear, wild Asiatic buffalo, desert fox, and certain hornbills. Next, we come to rare species. These are species that are only found in particular areas, often isolated by natural or geographical barriers. Think of species like the Andaman teal, Nicobar pigeon, Andaman wild pig, or the mithun in Arunachal Pradesh. Then we have endemic species. These are species whose populations have declined to a point where they are at risk of becoming endangered soon if the negative factors persist. Examples include the blue sheep, Asiatic elephant, and Gangetic dolphin. Following that, we have vulnerable species. These species are in danger of extinction, and their survival becomes very difficult if the threats to their populations continue. Species like the black buck, crocodile, Indian wild ass, Indian rhino, lion-tailed macaque, and sangai fall into this category. Lastly, we have species classified as normal, which means their population levels are considered stable and sufficient for their survival. Examples are cattle, sow, pine, and various rodents. By understanding these categories, we get a clearer picture of the current status of different species and the importance of conservation efforts. Let's talk about some of the major causes behind the depletion of flora and fauna. First, poisoning and forest fires. These are often accidental, but they can also be caused deliberately, and they have devastating effects on ecosystems. Industrialization and urbanization also play a big role, as they lead to habitat destruction and pollution. Overpopulation increases pressure on natural resources, making it harder for ecosystems to sustain themselves. Large-scale development projects, like dams and infrastructure, can fragment habitats and displace wildlife. Environmental pollution, whether air, water, or soil, further harms plants and animals. Fuelwood collection is another issue, especially in rural areas, where dependence on firewood can lead to deforestation. Additionally, inequitable consumption of resources and the uneven sharing of responsibility for environmental well-being mean that some communities or countries exploit resources more than others, often without regard for sustainability. Plantation practices, where only a single valuable species is cultivated extensively, can reduce biodiversity and make ecosystems more fragile. Overexploitation of resources, like hunting, fishing, and logging, also accelerates depletion. Access to resources is often unequal, which can lead to overuse by certain groups. Grazing, hunting, and poaching are direct threats to wildlife populations. After independence, we saw expansions in agriculture, mining, and other activities that put additional pressure on natural habitats. During the colonial period, the expansion of railways, agriculture, commercial and scientific forestry, and mining activities significantly impacted forests and wildlife. Most of the resources obtained, whether directly or indirectly, came from forests and wildlife, highlighting how closely linked these ecosystems are to human livelihoods. All these factors, poisoning, fires, industrialization, overpopulation, development projects, pollution, overexploitation, and unequal resource access, combine to threaten the rich biodiversity of our planet. Understanding these causes is essential if we want to develop strategies to protect our flora and fauna for future generations. The destruction of forests and wildlife isn't just a biological issue. It has far-reaching social and cultural implications as well. When we lose biodiversity, we also lose cultural diversity, which is often deeply intertwined with natural landscapes. This loss has increasingly marginalized and impoverished many indigenous communities and other groups that depend directly on forests for their daily needs, whether it's food, water, medicine, or spiritual practices. Environmental degradation, such as severe droughts or floods caused by deforestation, doesn't just harm ecosystems. It directly impacts people's livelihoods, pushing them further into poverty. And we can't forget the role of women in this cycle. Women are usually responsible for collecting fuel, fodder, water, and other essentials for their families. As these resources become scarcer, their workload increases tremendously. Sometimes, women have to walk more than 10 kilometers just to gather what they need, which leads to serious health issues and less time and energy for caring for their homes and children. All of these factors highlight how environmental degradation isn't just an ecological problem. It's a social issue that affects the most vulnerable communities and has profound social consequences. Conservation plays a crucial role in maintaining the ecological diversity that supports all life on Earth. When we preserve our ecosystems, we're also safeguarding the vital life support systems, water, air, and soil, that we depend on every day. These resources are essential not only for the health of our planet, but also for our own survival. Additionally, conservation helps protect the genetic diversity of plants and animals. This diversity is key for the growth and resilience of species, allowing them to adapt to changing conditions and ensuring healthy populations. By conserving forests and wildlife, we are securing the foundation for sustainable development and a balanced environment, which ultimately benefits us all. This ties into the overall theme of the presentation, that our actions today directly impact the health of our planet tomorrow. Protecting our natural resources isn't just about saving animals and trees, it's about ensuring a healthy, sustainable future for generations to come. The central government also announced several projects aimed at protecting specific animals that were gravely threatened, including the majestic tiger. This was a crucial step in our conservation efforts. Alongside this, both central and many state governments took the initiative to establish national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. These protected areas are essential because they provide safe habitats for our wildlife to thrive. The main goal of these programs was to conserve the remaining populations of certain endangered species. To do this, they banned hunting, gave legal protection to their habitats, and restricted trade in wildlife products. These measures were designed to create a safer environment for our wildlife and help their numbers recover. In 1972, we took a significant step forward with the implementation of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. This law played a vital role in establishing a legal framework to safeguard our country's rich biodiversity. Overall, these efforts reflect our commitment to conserving forests and wildlife in India, ensuring that future generations can also enjoy our natural heritage. Now, let's look at some other forests and wastelands that belong to both the government and private individuals and communities. These areas are often categorized as unclassed forests, meaning they haven't been officially classified under specific categories yet. Almost 1/3 of the total forest area is designated as protected forest, as declared by the Forest Department. This is a crucial point because it means these forests are safeguarded from any further depletion, helping to preserve our natural resources for future generations. Moving on, more than half of the total forest land has been declared reserved forests. These reserved forests are considered the most valuable when it comes to conserving our forest and wildlife resources. They are given special protection because of their importance in maintaining ecological balance. Finally, the government's categorization of forests helps us understand how different areas are managed and protected. Each category serves a specific purpose in our overall strategy for forest conservation. Recognizing these distinctions is key to appreciating how we work to preserve our environment and sustain our natural heritage. Now, let's talk about some exciting shifts happening in conservation projects. Traditionally, efforts focused on just a few key components of biodiversity, but now the approach has become much more comprehensive. We're looking at biodiversity as a whole, which means exploring a wider range of conservation measures. In fact, even insects are starting to play a role in conservation planning. This is a significant development because insects are often overlooked, yet they are crucial for healthy ecosystems. For example, under the Wildlife Act of 1980 and 1986, several hundred species of butterflies, moths, beetles, and even one dragonfly have been added to the protected species list. And there's more. Starting in 1991, plants were also included for the first time. Initially, just 6 plant species were added, marking a new chapter in conservation efforts. All of these changes reflect a broader trend, a move towards increasing biodiversity as a whole, rather than just protecting a few flagship species. This approach helps ensure healthier ecosystems and a more resilient natural world. Today, I want to highlight a remarkable example from Rajasthan, where the inhabitants of 5 villages in the Alwar district have taken a proactive approach to conservation. They declared 1,200 hectares of forest as the Barod of Dakav, sanctuary, establishing their own set of rules and regulations. These rules explicitly prohibit hunting and serve to protect local wildlife from outside encroachments. This example underscores a vital lesson. Involving local communities in natural resource management is essential for environmental restoration and protection. Throughout India, we see that local communities must be at the center of decision-making processes. Only then can we ensure that economic and developmental activities are not only people-centric and environmentally sustainable, but also economically rewarding. One successful model demonstrating this is the Joint Forest Management Program, or JFM. Since 1988, starting with Orissa's resolution, JFM has involved forming local village institutions that protect degraded forests, often managed by the Forest Department. In return, community members gain access to benefits like non-timber forest products and a share in timber harvests, creating an incentive for sustainable management. In some regions, villagers themselves are taking on the role of protectors, explicitly rejecting government intervention. Groups like Bij Bako Andalan and Navdanya show that diversified, chemical-free agriculture is not only feasible, but also economically viable, contributing to ecological health. The famous Chipko movement in the Himalayas is another inspiring example. It successfully resisted deforestation and demonstrated how community-led afforestation with indigenous species can be highly effective. India's rich tapestry of cultures also plays a crucial role in conservation. Many communities ascribe sacred qualities to natural elements like springs, mountain peaks, plants, and animals, which they protect diligently. For instance, macaques and langurs around temples are fed and treated as part of the community, reflecting a spiritual connection. In Rajasthan's Bishnoi villages, animals like blackbuck, nilgai, and peacocks are considered part of the community, and harm to them is taboo. Similarly, tribal groups like the Munda and Santhal worship trees like Mahua and Kadamba, while in Odisha and Bihar, tamarind and mango trees play important cultural roles during weddings. This age-old practice of nature worship, rooted in the belief that all of creation must be protected, has helped preserve many virgin forests, known as sacred groves. These are protected patches of forest, often untouched by human activity, because of their spiritual significance. We also see examples like Saraska Tiger Reserve, where local villagers have opposed mining activities by citing the Wildlife Protection Act. This highlights how communities recognize that their long-term livelihoods depend on conserving these habitats. In summary, communities are vital to conservation efforts. They are not just passive beneficiaries, but active protectors of our natural heritage. When they work alongside government initiatives, we stand a much better chance of preserving our ecosystems for future generations.